WBN.
Former President Donald Trump, Vice President Kamala Harris in Wisconsin this week, hoping to garner support from voters who wouldn't normally support them. And a new Marquette Law School poll shines some light on the tight race here in this state. CBS 58's Emilee Fannon, WisPolitics editor J.R. Ross break it down in tonight's Capital Connection.
The Harris and the Trump campaigns were both back in the Battleground state this week, but they were campaigning in areas that they traditionally don't because of the way they lean politically. Looking at Vice President Kamala Harris, she was in Ripon, which is the small town in northeastern Wisconsin known for creating the Republican Party back in 1854. In Fond du Lac County, doesn't really have a chance of winning it. On the other hand, former President Donald Trump campaigning in deep blue areas, Dane County and Waunakee, and then making his way over to Milwaukee, to Democratic strongholds. But what we want to talk about is why they are coming to this area. Specifically in Ripon, Harris was joined by former GOP Congresswoman Liz Cheney, a Republican. She is formally endorsing Harris. She announced it last week, but this is the first time they're on the campaign trail trying to appeal to moderate and independent voters. Meanwhile, the strategy on the Trump campaign is trying to chip away at those margins into Democratic strongholds to try and have a chance to win the powerhouse of turnout in both those areas.
So look, this will illustrate Dane County for you, okay? My first campaign for governor I covered back in 2002 compared to the one I covered in 2022. Tony Evers won Dane County by more votes than were cast for Jim Doyle in 2002, okay? That shows you how it's been growing population-wise, and it's growing a turnout machine and growing in partisanship. Donald Trump's not gonna win 25% there, okay, this fall, barring a miracle. But if he can arrest that trajectory a little bit, bend the curve enough to get to 23, maybe 24%, he'd be in good shape otherwise, because we're talking about that map, all that puzzle. You got to kind of try and limit here, pick up here. Can he do it? People I talk to don't think he's going to get to 25% in Dane County. Going to get to 23, maybe. Then it comes down to turnout. How good your ground game, all right? In a true 50-50 jump ball election, how good your volunteers are, your operation, your offices, the paid staffers, how good they are come into play. Talking to people so far, there's a clear advantage for Democrats. They believe that Harris and company have a better operation than Republicans, especially because the GOP is using groups like Turning Point USA to kind of carry the load. It's unique. I haven't seen it before. It might work. It might be the best thing we've seen in politics in Wisconsin before, but it's unproven. There's a risk for Republicans that if this is a true jump ball state, that they're going to miss out that little fraction you can get through your turnout game because they're not doing it the traditional way, but we'll see.
Continuing the conversation on the presidential race, we got a new snapshot of where the candidates are in the latest Marquette University Law School poll. And kind of the storyline is that people's views of Harris and Trump have not changed at all over the past 3 weeks, because the polling numbers are the exact same. Harris with a 4-point edge over Trump within the poll's margin of error. But, you know, what we're hearing on the ground game, some people don't really expect it to be that tight. On the other hand, U.S. Senate race, Tammy Baldwin did grow her lead over Eric Hovde. They are now 53% Baldwin, 46% Hovde among registered and likely voters. Will it be a 7-point advantage on Election Day? It remains to be seen.
Okay, look, talking to people over the course of this fall, the perception has been that Tammy Baldwin can outrun Kamala Harris, or when it was Joe Biden, that she's got a cross-party appeal that would help. That Eric Hovde is going to have to match Donald Trump for a chance to win. So looking at the Marquette poll, you know, Senate race versus presidential race, sure, 4-point spread in the presidential race, then that makes sense a little bit. Baldwin's a little bit above Harris, Hovde a little behind Trump. People I talk to don't really think we're a 4-point state right now. Maybe. They feel like Harris has an edge, but we are so purple year in and year out in presidential elections. We have a hard time seeing that kind of a spread. Second thing to point out, if it's really a 7-point U.S. Senate race, we wouldn't see the Senate Leadership Fund promising to spend $17 million to help Eric Hovde in Wisconsin. Now, this group aligned with Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the U.S. Senate. They are not coming here just for the heck of it. They see an opportunity. The challenge for Hovde is this. I have talked to numerous people all through this fall asking about this race. Not a single one has told me that Eric Hovde can win Wisconsin if Kamala Harris wins the presidential race. He needs Trump to win. The perception is probably by a point or two to give him a better shot. So this money is great. It's going to help Hovde. He actually might outspend Baldwin in the air the final weeks, but he needs Trump to win. that doesn't happen. It's hard to see how he beats Baldwin because, again, she has things like the Farm Bureau this week endorsed Tammy Baldwin. First time in decades has backed a Democrat in a statewide race in Wisconsin. It shows you the work she's done to create a cross-party appeal that would help her in a 50-50 presidential race.
All right, and looking ahead to next week, the state Supreme Court is going to hear oral arguments over a lawsuit challenging Governor Tony Evers' partial veto from a few years ago that locked in school funding for the next 400+ years. So we're going to hear from both sides on where this case could possibly go.
Yeah, doubling politics and law this week. Look, governors have very expansive veto authority in Wisconsin. We saw Scott Walker do a 3,000-year veto a few years ago. This is the Governor Evers' 400-year one. We will see what the court is, this liberal majority, on the expansiveness of executive power in Wisconsin comes that veto pen.
It sure will be fascinating. All right, that will do it for this week. Thank you so much for joining.